free parking downtown SLO.
Yeah, you heard that right. Just park in the new structure on the Pomo and Palm, across from the creamery. Eat at La Esquina, Mistura, or Mama's Meatball, and they'll validate your parking.
Thank you.
To learn more about how to park free downtown, visit slowfreeparking.com.
You're Up and Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Is here.
Up and Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Happy Monday. We are back at it, baby. What is good? Thank you so much for being Up and Adam. My name is Adam Montiel. Appreciate you more than you know. Lots of great feedback on, we brought the pour back. Got to show the pour. It's not all Paso, not all wine. You know, my baby is Where Wine Takes You. I do that with Paso Wine. I absolutely love that. There is a brand new episode of Where Wine Takes You. Super proud of it, but we're talking about farming. Yeah, the guy from HMR, Viking Vineyard also, as well as Avenales Ranch, Silton and Sons. They also took over the old JNR Meats in Paso. That's a great conversation. Chad Tabor from HMR and Daniel Silton. Wow, I loved meeting them. Check it out, Where Wine Takes You. Came out on Friday. But yes, a brand new episode of The Pork came out on Thursday. We're talking about going to Austria, Germany, and Hungary next year, fall of 2027. Would love for you to be on this cruise with us. I promise you it'll be a once in a lifetime. You'll never forget this. I got Jordan Fiorentini from Epic Estate Wines. Her and I have been working on this cruise for like 8 years. It's crazy. We've been wanting to get this cruise done and we're so excited it's finally going to happen. Also, Nita Matal Kunal from LXV will also be on this cruise with us. You can get all the info, corkandcruise.com. But check out that episode of The Pour because that is going to whet your appetite. This is going to be incredible. Up and down the Danube River. Oh my gosh, I've never been there. So excited. Speaking of wine country things, Wine Fest was over the weekend and Friday was the Paired Paso. They took 11 chefs, 11 wineries, paired them together. And my goodness, it was incredible. The judges winner, I was one of 4 judges with Rachel Ponce, Marino Monfaretto from La Viga and the television show Hell's Kitchen. You got to check out the interview we did with him. He's awesome. And then Michelle from Michelle Enjoys, formerly on Insta as Enjoy Slow. I'm sure you know that account. Michelle was great. The 4 of us were just such a fun little group of judges, and it's hard to taste that many things in maybe just like an hour and a half or so. But it was a blast. The judges winner was Chef Candice Custodio. She did pretty much like a fillet of fish, right? So a little bun, little crispy white fish, but inside the tartar sauce was caviar on top. And I got to be honest, there was dishes that might have beat, there were wines that might have beat, but this competition is about the pairing, and she killed it. She just killed it. All 4 judges were like, yes, that's it. People's Choice went a little different. There was actually a tie. I don't know how you get a tie with that many people and tokens, but for some reason we got a tie. Literally the same amount of tokens went to both the chef and winery at Tobin James versus the chef and winery at La Cuvier. Both have in-house chefs and they killed it. So congratulations to everyone that came out. It's really tough. You see so many chefs there, like Chef Dominique was there and Justin Monson from Oak and Vine, like so many bomb ass chefs. And you're a judge. You're like, what do I just feel bad. It's like, how do I give, this is when I want participation trophies. No, someone's got to win. You got to have a winner, but it was incredible. So many great chefs there putting together Copia, they're an Indian couple, beautiful wines. They brought a chef from out of town. I want to say like the Bay Area or something. They cooked a whole Indian thing from scratch. The bread, the everything from scratch. It was great. This was a better pairing on the other side though, with Karn and their Assyrtiko, which is a Greek varietal, and this filet of fish thing, which was just unreal. So good. All right, so that was Friday. Saturday, grand tasting. Before I tell you that, and I have a funny story about my fly being down. Yeah. I want to share with you some love that I have for my friends at the Mountain Air. They're in San Luis Obispo. They've been doing it. They've been doing their thing since 1975, 50 plus years here. The story, I just love them. Josh and Lindsay Herring, they're great people. If you're ever going to think about going into REI, no, let's keep it local. They're actually doing an anniversary sale where they're doing their price matching. These guys got it down. Check out themountaineair.com. They're on Marsh, right next door. Their sister shop, or like a store or so down. I think it was like a sushi place in the middle of them. That must not be a bad thing, you know. The Switchback, it's where they do sell your used gear. Maybe you want to get into a new hobby and you don't want to like dive in big. Check out the kind of stuff they got there. So love what they got going on. Let's say you're going hiking or you're going camping. You want to rent a Yeti cooler because those things are pretty damn expensive. You could do that there. Sleeping cot, sleeping pad, whatever. They got tons of stuff there. Maybe get you fitted in a brand new Patagonia vest. There we are. Check out themountaineair.com. All right, Saturday. So yeah, I show up to Paso Wine Fest. I say hi to Cameron from Ultima Thule. He goes, dude, your flag's down. Like, my flag's down. I go, oh no. And then you realize, oh no, my flag's not down. My flag's up. My flag's broken. So now, like, I've got to be on stage for these things I'm going to talk about, these pairing things. So I got to figure this out. So Cam goes, hey, there's like a hat guy. There's a guy selling hats over there. So I went over there and he's got like these big ass clothespins. I'm like, this is perfect. Like, you are heaven sent. Of course, they're all like, you know, got pearls on them and they're pretty feminine, but whatever. It's going to be down there by my crotch. No big deal. So then I buy one and then I went and grabbed Lady I Fancy, who's pouring for Epic, not far from where I'm supposed to be stationed. And we go into a back alley and then she just gets down there and goes to work. Don't be nasty. She fixes my fly and man, saved my ass. But I got to thank Quinn for buying me that sweet little girly clothespin. The needle on that thing looked like a freaking epidural. And then for Cam for saying, dude, your fly's down. Ay. But Saturday was a lot of fun. Hanging out with Chef Rachel Ponce. Also, we did this thing called the Pairing Playground. This is funny. There was a 1:30, a 2:30, and a 3:30. And the 1:30 had like, you know, I don't know, maybe like 16 people at it. So there's like 84 seats open, the whole thing. It's this whole big long, looks like an airplane hangar open. I'm like, oh man, I hope we fill this up for the next time. But it was the first time we ever did it. It was a half hour after people showed up. So 2:30 rolls around, that thing is full. Oh, I was like, oh, thank God. So much fun. Then 3:30, of course, full. So we just loved it. We talked little pairings. We did like 20, 30 minutes. It was great. I hope we bring that back next year. I hope Paso Wine was happy with it. I think Rachel was. We seem to be both pretty stoked on it. Amber, Carson, and Emily Butler. Carson Butler, incredible for everything they do. I just loved what Paso Wine Fest has become one of the premier wine events in the nation. We had this whole seat, all these seats full of people. And I go, who's visiting? Like, every single freaking hand went up. I said, how many of you are local? Like 4 people. I mean, Paso Wine Fest that was the best litmus of people are visiting from literally everywhere for this. So just absolutely cool. Paso Wine, Joel, Krista, Jamie Carroll, Chris, everybody. I can't even think of them all. I saw Jessica, everyone there. Did I say Jamie? I just hate missing people. It's a small team and they're all fantastic. I love them all. PasoWine.com really put on a great event. All right, today's show, thank you for your indulgence. I got a lot working through my head. I wanted to thank a lot of people, talk about the weekend. Coming up today, though, we're getting our civic duty on. We are getting civically educated. It's a conversation that goes way beyond campaign signs and party labels. Adam Verdin, he is running for County Supervisor in District 4, taking on incumbent Jimmy Paulding in one of the most talked about local races in SLO County. But this interview, this isn't political theater. This is about the human side of leadership. From running Old Juan's Cantina in Oceano to flying aircraft professionally. I never knew that about this guy. Adam Verdin opens up about what pushed him into public life, why he thinks people are exhausted by political tribalism, and what it actually feels like to have your name turned into a headline. This is why I can't get into politics. The first negative hit piece I read on me, I'm just like, no, I wouldn't like that. But we get into everything: homelessness, Diablo Canyon, housing, dark money, whatever the hell that is, the future of middle-class life here on the Central Coast. You want to talk about affordable housing? Don't look in the creek. Look at me. I want to buy a house. Let's go. There's also some really human moment about his first hit piece. We'll talk about why he thinks kindness can actually be a form of toughness, and the surprising way a group trying to shut down the Oceano airport ended up changing his thinking entirely. All coming up. We're going to meet Adam Verdin, running for District 4 Supervisor here in San Luis Obispo County in just a matter of minutes. I'm excited to get into this conversation, and I've had great conversations with Jimmy Paulding too. We're going to invite him. He has said he is down to come on the show, so we'll see if it's going to be late this week or next week, but we are scheduling that now, and I'm very excited about that. But want to tell you about first, my friends of Benny's Pizza. There are pizza spots, and then there are places that feel like it's like Cheers. It's like a story is unfolding. Like, it's just so great. You feel like you belong. And that's Benny's Pizza. We're talking that Detroit style, thick, crispy, pan-fried crust, sauce on top, on bottom. Who cares? There's flavor in every bite. Get the sauce wherever you want it. They don't care. They just want you to have their pizza and enjoy. All right, happy hour Monday through Friday, 4:30 to 6:30. $3.50 domestic cans, $2 off premium beer and wine, plus food specials that are just hitting the spot. The patio, great place for maybe a little grad get together, Father's Day hang. Let's go. 1601 Monterey Street. Find them on Upper Monterey, downtown SLO. Call them at 439-3838. That's 439-3838. Benny's Pizza, baby. It is not just where you eat. It is where you land.
It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right. Local politics can get really loud really fast. There's the mailers. Man, the mailers. Yay. The headlines, the endorsements, the accusations, the comment sections. Good Lord. But every once in a while, it's nice just to sit down with one of these folks and just have a great conversation. My guest today, Adam Verdin, candidate for San Luis Obispo County Supervisor in District 4. He's a pilot, small business owner, part of the family behind Old Juan's Cantina, and someone who says local government should feel more like a partner than a roadblock. We talk about homelessness, Diablo, housing, political tribalism, the pressure of running against an incumbent who obviously knows the system and does what they do well, and why he believes common sense might still have a place in public service. Really thoughtful conversation. Super excited. Welcome Adam Verdin to the SLO Cal studios. Thank you. Thanks, Adam, for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
This is going to be a fun chat. First of all, before we even broke the mic, you're like, oh, these are kind of like the headphones that you have. They're kind of like the airplane ones.
Oh, yeah.
Except they rest really close, don't those?
Well, you have a lot of ambient noise out there with, engines running and the rest of it. So
yeah.
The mics usually sit up. Well, they sit right on your lips, really, when you're flying airplanes.
Give me an example of what you would say. Let's say you're taking off at SLO Airport, you're doing whatever you do. No, were you a pilot like commercial, or like were you a pilot like
professional pilot?
Professional, like for work.
Corporate, yep.
Wow.
And a flight instructor, and I still do some of that. So I'm a chief pilot for a charter company in San Luis, Mark Air, and do a little bit of charter flying, a little aircraft management. Yep.
What, aircraft management? That's incredible. So give me what you would say if we want to leave SBP, blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. San Luis Tower, Pilatus 1 Tango Charlie, ready to go, 29 left crosswind.
I love that. And
right?
Yeah, it's okay. I love that. That's so rad. And you've been flying for how long?
Gosh, I hate to say, but about 40 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Let me think about that. So I soloed on my 16th birthday. That was in 1987.
What?
Yeah.
What is it about pilots where we allow, you got to be 16 to drive, sure.
Sure.
But I feel like a lot of these pilots, they start as kids.
Well, for me, we own Old Juan's Cantina, which is right by the Oceano Airport.
Love it.
And when I was about 5 years old, a gentleman that was a customer took me for an airplane ride. And so it was at that time that I decided, hey, this is this is pretty cool. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things that captures a kid's imagination, and it became a dream, and then dreams become something that you get determined to finish up, and so that's how it went.
I feel like I've heard your restaurateur, but I didn't know it was Old Juan's. That's rad.
Yeah, my sister and I. So
That's
this
so
year
cool.
we celebrate 50 years in business.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not easy here.
No, it's not.
It's not easy in the restaurant business.
Well, I think it might have one of the highest failure rates of businesses
For sure.
in the country. Yeah.
Well, I mean, during COVID, we lost, a third of them? We lost 33-something
Well, it was
percent
a
of
tough time for everybody.
Yeah. All right. So it was so interesting because when I first started Googling you to research for this, I was typing in your name and I got ADAM space VERDI, and it already auto-populated Adam Verdin political party. And I thought that was so interesting. Do you think people genuinely, are they trying to learn a candidate, or have we just become so cannibalized by the tribalism of it all that the only thing that people sometimes care about is the letter next to one's name?
Well, I think it depends on who you're speaking with. Certainly, things have become a lot more partisan more recently. I mean, I've been a registered Republican, I think, since 1988, 89, when I could first vote.
Yeah.
My wife's a registered Democrat, and I think for her entire voting life. And so I think people are far more concerned about those political parties than either myself or my wife are. And as I tell people, I'm running obviously for District 4 Supervisor. A pothole doesn't have a party registration, right? Houses don't have a party registration. These are just solutions that we need to solve as a community.
Yeah. Let's talk endorsements, because the recent thing was the Tribune is laying all their endorsements. And it's kind of cute because I think years ago it mattered. But I mean, look, if I was running for something, I would, politely, and God bless, I would politely say, you guys are the same people that endorsed Adam Hill. So the last thing I need is an endorsement from you guys. But does that hurt when the local paper, and albeit papers are where papers are these days, Tribune isn't what it was years ago, but does it go, oh, or is it fine for you, or didn't need it, or what do you think when you read that?
Well, it was interesting because I thought it was actually complimentary. I just came to a kind of a different conclusion than I would say what some of the content of the endorsement said. I had we had one of our kids put that into AI, put the article into AI and said how many compliments and criticisms for each person. And according to AI, it had more compliments for me than it had for my opponent and less criticisms for me than my opponent. So it was just kind of an interesting conclusion. But it is what it is. And, they compared me to Cacho. They compared me to Paul Teixeira. And I think that's actually a great endorsement right there.
It is really. Those really are, because those are people here who really moved the needle, and they did it in a nonpartisan way.
Right.
And I feel like so much of, and this is kind of like the drama that the city of SLO, thank God we're past the years of Heidi Harmon and just divisive times, right? A lot of these things, they can be nonpartisan. A lot of the issues that we face in this beautiful place we live, they don't necessarily have to do with an R or a D. They're just issues that we all kind of care about. And if you take the politics out of it, you find that a lot of us feel a lot of the same way on things.
I agree with that. I really, truly agree with that. And I think part of what's missing in our political dialogue, for sure nationally, and I think locally as well, is just the ability to listen to the other side.
Yeah.
Right. And you might have somebody that you disagree with on an issue, but if you're listening to them, you're going to find one or two things where you actually agree on. And it might help you in your approach and how you solve problems. And a great example of that is the Oceano Airport, the career technical education that I've been working with Lucia Marr and the airport director, now the airport director in the school district that were really driving it. But that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't paying attention to. There was a group of people that were trying to close the Oceano Airport. And of course, I was opposed to that for various reasons. So you can't build anything else there. It's a wetland. It's under the purview of a coastal commission. You're just not going to build houses, commercial property there. But one of the things they said is that here we have 70 acres, 60 plus acres anyway, in Oceano that isn't connected to the community. And when I learned to fly, I could ride my bike on the airport. It's not wise, but you could. And you had access, physical access. It was far less expensive. And I thought, they have a point there. We won the fight to keep the airport open, but they had a point. We have an airport there in a community, and it wasn't connected. How do we connect it? To me, that was the important question that we're trying to solve. And we did that through what we call career technical education through Lucia Mar Rio Grande High School, first aviation program in our high school with 28 kids in it now. So that came from listening to people that have a different point of view than you.
Yeah. Let's talk District 4. That's who you're running for. Politicians often talk about districts like they're statistics, but districts are humans. They're exhausted parents. They're small business owners. They're people worried about rent, roads, water, identity, right? So when you think about District 4 and enlighten our audience to those boundaries and who we're talking about, what do you think the people of District 4 are kind of quietly carrying with them right now that maybe isn't getting enough attention?
Well, okay, so first of all, geographically, District 4, we're talking about Oceana, where I grew up, city of Arroyo Grande, Nipomo, Wasna, part of Edna Valley, and then Nipomo south to the riverbed, right? So that's kind of the geographic area. And to me, I call it the common sense district. It's the hardworking people in our community that kind of keeps things going. And they want common sense government. What does that mean? It means that a county government that views their constituents as a partner and working with them, helping to achieve what they're trying to get done, whether it's to remodel their house, to get a business license, to get a sign on their business, to get roads fixed, rather than coming up with reasons, which is too often the case of why we can't do something.
Now, we are in this era where you hear like campaign finance and dark money, and we've seen these things with this story. Where did all this come up? How do you navigate running a campaign in a climate where people, their public trust in politics already feels thin, and there has been this like talk of things that has come up? What's your take on all this that we could share?
Well, I think the take is just you have to be transparent.
Yeah.
So it does take money, unfortunately, to run a campaign and to reach people. So in my case, I've never run for office. We have a restaurant, and I've been in the community a long time.
Are you crazy? What are you doing?
Well, sometimes I introduce myself. Hey, this is what crazy looks like.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, people say to me, "Oh, Adam, you should run for mayor. You should do this." I'm like, "Are you nuts? No way." I don't think I have the. First of all, I mean, I imagine I'm probably too insecure to get myself into an arena where people are like voting against you more than voting for you. So I look at some of these people. I remember talking to Frank Meacham. I always said he's a great man, and he was a supervisor for a while, and he would just tell me, "Man, the supervisorial level is really the first level where you really start to see, man, this is chaos up here."
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. So on the running for office as a first time candidate, I mean, it is different.
Yeah.
And I'm not. We've been in business for a long time. My wife has a successful advertising and marketing business, and we've had other business ventures that we've been involved with. So, and so we're used to an organizational structure. We're used to, you have goals that you set. And a campaign is a little bit that way. You have messaging goals. You have people you're trying to reach. You're trying to also listen and really understand what the core issues are. So there's that component of it that just takes time and effort. And interspersed in all of that, or maybe overlaid in all of that, it's so public. Everything is so dang public. And so it is a different world, and you do have to, I think, have a little bit. Their skin has to be on the tougher side,
right? For sure,
to go through it.
Yeah,
but there's different kinds of toughness, right? There's a toughness of kindness. There's a toughness of understanding. There's also the toughness of determination.
Right.
So I think if people are, as people listen to this and they ever consider running for office, just think about that too. Adam, you might be more qualified to do it than you might realize.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Listen, so there's been some back and forth here, and I mentioned it a second ago. But first, before like the dark money thing that came up, where you got Dan Dow going like, "I'm looking into this," or blah blah blah, there was like this allegation of your finances it was quickly dismissed, and it seemed like extinguished before it even became something. This is another one of those aspects where like, why am I doing this? This sounds like such a pain in the ass that I got to deal with bullshit like this.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And so, what's interesting is just give you a quick timeline on that.
Do so, please.
So the very first indication that we had that something like this was coming down the pike was from Tom Folks put on social media. And he said, oh, this looks like an FPPC complaint. Who knows? It might take 3 months to solve. It might take six months to resolve. Kind of who knows. So that was like on a Thursday or Friday. Then on a Sunday morning, my opponent puts out on social media that he filed a complaint against me, the FPPC. And the issue is that you have a primary election and a general election. And I think it was in October. So early in the campaign, we already had 3 candidates. And so it was, and by the way, other candidates like Bruce Gibson's when he ran last time, I think that went past a primary into a general election.
Right.
So it's not unheard of for this to happen. And so preparing for that, and as a person that has run for office, not ever, and I'm against an experienced opponent who's been doing this and is pretty adept at fundraising, was like, hey, we're gonna try to fundraise maybe for the general election as well. So I had a contributor that gave to our primary election and our general election. Had the campaign moved past the primary election, then that money was available for the general. If it didn't, I can't use the money.
Got it.
Right? By law, I can't use it. I have to give it back. So it's almost like a savings account. You can think of it that way.
Okay, got it.
And this isn't uncommon.
People do it all the time.
It's done all the time. So what my opponent did is he said, no, that was illegal. He filed a complaint. He sent press releases to all of the press. Now, he's an attorney, and he's been a supervisor already, and he's been a city council member. Well, I mean, I don't know what's worse, that he knew and he did it, or that he didn't know.
Right.
One's really a bad look.
Yeah.
But I think their bet was they were hoping that this would go past the election, and then they can put out flyers and advertising saying I'm under investigation or whatever.
Got it.
But once the FPPC got our answer and our response to it, they turned it around in 24 hours. Usually it takes some months. It was so baseless. They turned it around in 24 hours and they said, there's no issue here.
Yeah.
Right. And so then again, we did our own press release. As a matter of fact, the Tribune even suggested, they said that Paulding should apologize to it. My view is he doesn't owe me an apology. But here he is using government agencies really to campaign against his opponent. I think he owes the public an apology for the misuse of his position and the district attorney's office and the FPPC.
So that thing got extinguished really quickly. Right. And then there was like this dark money thing. Talk about that. Then you got the DA going, yeah, we're looking at things. What's going on over here with this organization? What's up there?
So there's two, again, this is new stuff for me as well.
Sure.
So I have my campaign. So we raise money and we spend money, and we have to disclose who we receive money from and where we spend money. The other side has to do the same thing. Independent of that, you have these other organizations called independent expenditures. And these are organizations that also collect money, and they can indicate that they're for my opponent or against my opponent, or for me or against me, whatever. And then they can spend money accordingly. There, they have much higher limits. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure they have limits. So in our campaigns, myself and my opponents, we have a $5,900 limit per person. In the other campaign, in the other format, the IEs, they can put more money in. So it's a way of, boosting or supporting a campaign. The rules are that you cannot coordinate it. So I can't have a discussion with the IE, and neither can my opponent, as to what they're doing. What happened was there was a group of people that put money into an independent expenditure to support my opponent. What they did is they didn't disclose who they were receiving the money from, and they were required to. Right? This was a pattern that this same group of people did in the prior campaign in 2022. And of course, no one paid attention to it because the election was over, and then they filed the paperwork and all that. And that's what the district attorney called out. It's like, you have to.
You got to cross your T's and dot your I's.
You do. And they didn't do that. So
okay.
my thing is, hey, look, if you're an independent expenditure, whether you're for me or against me, whatever you're doing, follow the law.
Yeah. Were you looking at this like, oh, that shady business, or were you just looking at it like, they just made a little mistake, like, let's move on.
Well, if you look at the people that were involved in independent expenditure, they're a pretty sophisticated group. So again, I'd have the person that organized it has experience as a treasurer. So it's that thing. It's like, okay, so did you really not know what you were doing? Right? It wasn't
what's worse, right?
It wasn't like you were, our friends becoming a treasurer and, participating in the democratic process and forming an IE, and they forget a piece of paper or something. These are experienced professionals that happen to file paperwork that didn't disclose who was funding it.
Right. Interesting. Campaigns are weird. People see signs, they see ads, they see headlines. Behind all that, you're probably not sleeping the same. You're probably having really intense conversations with your family. There's stress. There's self-doubt. What has this campaign done to you personally that people probably don't see?
Well, my take on this, whether it's the restaurant business or flying or whatever, it's the harder you work, the better you sleep. And so that's just what I do, right? So, and we have a group we have a campaign manager, we have a campaign chair, we have a group of volunteers, and then of course my wife is very supportive, as my kids and my family, and so all of that always helps to make the row a little bit easier. And I think the other component with anything that's challenging is you got to have a sense of humor throughout.
Yeah, for real.
Right? And be able to joke about things. I mean, I got my very first hit piece. My opponent put his very first hit piece out on me, and I took a picture next to it. Yeah. And I sent it to all my friends. I mean, I just thought, hey, check it out.
Yeah, it's my first.
Yeah, it's my first.
You, what was that moment where you're like, the real moment where you just said and decided, no, I have to do this. I got to do this.
Yeah. I'll be candid with you. I actually met with the opponent, and I was thinking about doing it. I'd been asked to, and I thought, we can get a couple of these issues resolved, and they were very local issues for Oceano Rio Grande. Mm-hmm. I don't need to do this, and I can only get one of those three issues resolved. So I walked away thinking, okay, I think I'm going to do this. And those three issues were repairing the relationship, because he had pushed for an annexation between Oceano and Grover without really communicating with anybody in Oceano other than his one or two supporters there. The Oceano Dunes, and again, I wanted him to open a dialogue with the Friends of Oceano Dunes, who have been working to keep those dunes open for a number of years. There's been a number of lawsuits and litigations. I call them forever lawsuits. Right. And the third is the Oceano Airport. And as I said, he understood, but I also explained that you just can't shut it down. You're going to have to pay the federal government $3.2 million for the money you received. You couldn't build houses there. Very hard to. Couldn't build commercial development there. It's a wetland and the rest of it. But if he supported the airport with a resolution, I would always commend him for it. And I do commend him for that, because he did do that, and he did champion the resolution to keep that airport open. But that was one of three issues. With respect to the annexation with Oceano and Grover, he had damaged some relationships with people that are pretty influential leaders and community leaders in Oceano. I know them, and as a matter of fact, two out of the three of them supported him in the last campaign, and those were very repairable relationships. I think he would just have to go hat in hand and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm sorry, screwed up, whatever." And I think it would have been over for him. He just didn't want to do that.
Mm. What I think a lot of people are feeling here with some of the bigger issues, and these are issues that might not be so affecting District 4, but they affect the whole county, which obviously you would be a vote on, right. And one's homelessness. People want to care, and they care inherently about homelessness, but they're also frustrated. Businesses are frustrated. We've been forced down our throats that this is a housing issue. When you look at homelessness in this county, what do you think people are getting fundamentally wrong, politically, emotionally, and where do you kind of fit in this, what you would like to offer as a solution?
So I'm on the Five Cities Homeless Coalition board. And the way I even got on that board is I actually called them up to complain about homeless people around our restaurant and our businesses. And so Jana Nichols came over, Ken Dalabout, who is with Dignity Health, but he was also the volunteer president of the board. came by, and we had a discussion with other businesses there. And it was a little bit enlightening because the issues weren't what I thought exactly what they were. And in about, I don't know, a couple of weeks later, they called me up and said, hey, would you consider joining the board? Which I thought was kind of astonishing because I showed up to complain about all of this. And I thought, that might be a good thing. So I did. And there was a couple of challenges with it. One is, I think it's really a state issue, but it's localized in each population. So then the question is, what do we do as a community on it? And the other piece of that is I do think it's related to housing. So, when you have a single mom with a couple kids and might be holding one or two jobs down, and they're paying a lot for rent, and they have one significant issue happen, either a health issue or something with their car, some bad event happens for them financially, they have an eviction notice, right? And so maybe they end up living in a car, right? And then that car breaks down, and that's a good. That story is too common, right? It's too common where a professional person living in a car joins a gym membership so they can take a shower.
Yeah. No,
right?
and I feel we need to have nets and all the things that we can for those. But all too real, like the person who's banging on my door on Higuera and Marsh at a red light isn't a single mom with two kids.
Right.
It's a 24-year-old with a big-ass beard from Oregon who's on, like, meth. Okay,
Right.
So although I do appreciate, and this is kind of where Jim D'Antona went in our conversation too, I'm not saying there's zero applicable to affordable housing, but there is a drug issue, there is a mental health issue, and we want to talk about empathy. I almost feel like we're not doing our empathetic best if we are just letting people die in the streets this way. So let's almost, for the sake of this argument, because I have to imagine, I would hope that we can all agree on the mother with two kids who's living in the car. Yes, we need to build those things they're building on, on Johnson or whatever. Like, yes, exactly. Right. What Echo is seemingly doing for these types of people. Incredible. Echo should be a litmus and an outline for folks all over because what they do is so effective. But for the homeless that most people see and have to deal with, that's kind of what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? And I don't know, do you see like there's a difference there? Do you see a distinction between those two?
Well, so you're talking about the demographics of homeless people, right? And so there's some folks they're just economically compressed in terms of what they can do. And those folks, I think that volunteer organizations and nonprofits like Five Cities Homeless Coalition, SLO, Echo, they're all in a good position to help, and frankly, they have some pretty good success doing it. So that's one. Then you have folks that have mental health issues, right, and substance issues, and sometimes those are related, right? They're totally all related, and those are frankly out of the capacity of those nonprofits, right? So you're almost talking about institutionalized care for that, and it's outside of the purview, I think, of law enforcement. Right, and it's almost, to me, it's like, okay, if these challenges are going to be in our county, in our thing, I would look to the state for some help on that. Yeah, right, because it's expensive. Right. It's expensive to manage all of that. So it's, I mean, my understanding of it. What I understand of it, it's a complex issue. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Diablo, one of those issues where people's opinions are tied to identity, maybe science, fear, economics, climate, anxiety, all of it, right? It's so many little like tangential tentacles that, bring us back into the Diablo conversation. When you think about Diablo Canyon, Adam, do you primarily see this as a energy conversation, an economic conversation for the county, a trust conversation, and should we be keeping it open?
The answer is yes to all three. I would add water to it for desal, right? So Diablo, it's commonly known that it provides 9% of California's energy. It is, I think, about 1,400 pretty darn good paying jobs in our area. And then I think the part that people have sort of forgotten, it was a discussion that was happening some years ago, it's kind of gone away, is they have, when that plant was permitted, and the desal piece was permitted, it was for an additional reactor out there. And so the desal was built to support that. And since we don't have that additional reactor, we have additional capacity on the desal part, about 5,000 acre feet of water. And if there is some way of tapping into that in what they call Zone 3 water, which is water for coming out of Lopez, so it's be a Rio Grande, Oceano, Nipomo, Grover, and Avila, and Pismo. That's something that needs to be looked at. There are challenges with it. There's engineering challenges. There's about 12 miles that you have to close the gap in between the DSL plant and hooking up to Zone 3 water. And then once you get there, there's other challenges. But there was a 2015 study that the county put together that said it was feasible to do. And so not talking about that, to me, I think the reason it might not be talked about is because it also commits you to the continued use of the power plant, which has political dimensions for it. I fully support it.
Now, were you surprised that this full-on turnaround happened where it's set to shut down, and then all of a sudden even the governor was like, "Oh yeah, we got to keep Diablo open." Man, bizarre world. This is great. I'm a proponent of the energy because I like clean energy. And there's
it is.
Yeah. So. Were you surprised when all that whole thing turned around? You started reading oh my gosh, these are not the headlines I read a year ago.
Well, somebody got hit with a reality stick, right?
Yeah,
that's
sure.
what happened because they figured out, we can't. That's 9% of California's energy. We have no way of replacing that. There's no plan.
We're getting energy from other places. We're buying it from other spots.
Exactly
all
right.
the same kind of stuff that we say we don't like. We're getting natural gas from Arizona.
Right.
It's insane. And we like to tout that we're what is it, 5th, 6th biggest economy in the world, whatever it is, California, and we're doing third world brownouts at 5 at night. What was going on? We do not need this. We're smart enough to figure this out, So there are a lot of folks in SLO Cal who are doing everything right, Adam. They're working hard. They're raising families, contributing to this community. They're going to farmers markets. They're doing the thing, right? And they're still feeling like they're falling behind. What worries you most about the future of middle-class life here in SLO Cal?
Well, I think it's really tough to live here now. I grew up here. I moved out of the house when I was 18 years old. I lived in a single wide trailer, paid, $300 a month there in Silver City, right there in San Luis, and then moved into an apartment for $400 a month. Was able to save and buy my first house in Grover Beach when I was 24, 25 years old.
Damn.
With not, just working, right? It wasn't
how much was it?
It was $130,000, right? 130 grand.
Do you still have it? Or you sell it?
No, I sold it and then bought another house, and then But that's the housing ladder, and some people say it doesn't exist. Some people say it's not a concept we should try to achieve. I do think it is a concept we should try to achieve.
I agree.
Right? So
it's tough.
It is.
I haven't been able to achieve it. It's tough.
Well, because you're in the wrong time.
Yeah.
Right. Here's the basic premise of why I'm running and what I think we're trying to achieve, or what we should be all trying to achieve, is when I grew up here, I'm a product of our area, and I'm a beneficiary of our area. But the opportunities I had here growing up, I don't think they exist for somebody if I was in that same position today. You'd have to move out of the area, I think. And so if we're a county that says we care about head of household jobs and we're going to spend money doing that, but we forget about the house, well, it's literally a half promise, right? And so it's not an easy puzzle to fix, but we got to figure out a way of how do we get more housing in our area in a way that we don't sacrifice who we are as a community, and that we're prioritizing people that are from here, live here, work here, folks that meet our needs. Just in physicians, right now we're about 150 physicians, 150 to 200, depending on who you speak with, short of where we are for our population. And we're not even talking about physician assistants, right? Technicians, nurses, and the rest of it. And then when you talk about them, there's two issues there. One is actually the compensation side of it, but then the other is just the sheer cost of living here. And there are some creative things. Santa Barbara County did a deal with Cottage Hospital where they created workforce housing for people in the medical field. The houses were deed restricted, meaning that they had to be sold to other people in their profession. They could make a profit in selling the property, but there was a limit to it. And to me, it's a very reasonable, rational approach. And we should be looking at that, taking a look and say, hey, do we have county land that we're not using? It's not going to be a park. There's no other public benefit other than we're a landholder. And can it be used in partnership like that? I just think we need to look at things a little bit differently, a little bit creatively on how we solve this and how, you can't. It'd be crazy to say, I'm going to solve your traffic problems, your housing problems, and everything, right? But I think we can get it trending the right way.
Yeah. Where do you think are the biggest differences between you and your opponent?
Well, I mean, if you just look at his voting record, he actually runs. He runs as an anti-development, anti-housing candidate. I mean, what he puts out is that he says that he was part of a committee to come up with some housing. But look at the results. People self-help housing who do affordable housing in our area, last quarter, they had about north of 7,000 people on their waiting list. Right now, they have something just north of 9,000 people on the waiting list. In 1 quarter change. The trend is going absolutely the wrong way. So I just measure by, we all talk. I just measure by results, and are the results heading in the direction that we should be heading? Otherwise, if we're going to have a high school student graduating from a high school, give them a bus ticket because they can't afford to live here, right? I mean, that's what we're getting down to, right? And that's a heck of a graduation present. No, we need to give them opportunity here, right? The ability to stay here, to live here, to work here, have their own families here. That's what we should be working for. And that's what we should be all talking about and heading in that direction.
If someone lives in District 4 and they're listening to this, why should they vote for Adam Verdin?
Well, I just think I have way different life experience than the incumbent. I grew up here. I will say he grew up here too. I grew up in a small business with all the challenges that come with a small business. I've been in business now. My sister and I have owned the restaurant now for the last 16 years. We know what it's like to make a payroll. We know what it's like to stretch to make one when things aren't great, right? We've lived that piece. My wife and I have raised 2 boys here. She's started her own business here, woman-owned business. And we are deeply, as both my wife and myself, we are deeply involved in a lot of aspects in the community. And so I just think I think I have a better understanding. If you're a person working every day to try to make ends meet, I understand and what that looks like. I've worked on those issues, and I think the county government can do a better job just being a partner, getting things done, and kind of getting out of your way.
Yeah. Say something nice about Jimmy Paulding.
Well, I will say I understand he's a member of a band.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
And
I've had him on. We've had good conversation. I'm going to invite him in. I'd love to have a friendly chat with him like I did you.
Well, and I will say that the only thing I know how to play is the radio.
Yeah. Coffee meeting or town hall? What's your favorite?
Coffee. One-on-ones I prefer.
Most misunderstood thing about you?
Well, I think it's probably the narrative that's going out by my opponent, which is he says I'm being bought by developers. I think that's the term he uses. Who is Adam working for? Let me just tell you, we have a very successful restaurant. My wife has a very successful business. From that perspective, we're happy campers. The notion that somebody's going to buy me for $5,900 is absolutely insane. So I think that might be the biggest misperception that's somebody is trying to put out there. Well, my opponent's trying to put out there.
What's harder, criticism or asking for money?
Oh, asking for money.
Yeah, I thought that's another part. I would have such a
So let me just tell you, right? There's 3 things you tell your kids never to do.
Right.
Don't sit in front of a room and just talk about yourself. Right. Which you have to do when you're running for office. People don't want to know who you are.
I know.
Right. Then they want to know how you're different from your opponent. Yeah. So you do have to talk about that. And if you have differences, you have to share that.
Yeah.
You and I both know that in business life and normal life, criticisms are always private. With that person, right? Not in this open kind of form, but it is what you have to do. And then the very third thing you hope your kids never do is sit around and ask everybody for money.
Yeah,
right. And I'm not asking everybody for money, but it's part of this.
Is there an endorsement that you got that really touched your heart?
Well, we have a lot of great endorsements. Just right now we're running a video from Steve Lieberman, who's a planning commissioner and a former fire chief. And a friend. I love that. Let me tell you what I really love. I love the diversity of our endorsements. So we'll have somebody like Dee Lacey, who's a Democrat and has liberal-minded views on a lot of different things, and then I'll have an endorsement from Andreas Seastrand, who is a conservative Republican, and I think that the commonality is it's about community.
Yeah,
you can have those different point of views, but as I keep saying, a pothole, a bridge, your kid, the success of your kids is not political. That's something we're trying to all achieve together.
Favorite place in District 4 to just breathe?
Oh gosh, well, Oceano Airport.
Yeah.
Right?
You used to ride your bike there. That's right.
Yeah.
Tell me, what's your favorite thing at Old Ones?
Oh, well, the mole enchiladas, right?
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, the chicken mole enchiladas. Yeah.
You gonna have a big watch party at Old Ones, or how do you do it?
We are. Yeah, we're probably going to do that. Yep.
Not a bad place to do it.
No,
that's so good. The food's great. I love it. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. Do we leave anything out? Is there anything that you want to just go, Adam, I would love to say this?
Well, I would just say, verdinforsupervisor.com is our website. I encourage you to go there, take a look at it. We'll try to be as specific as I can on issues. And if you like what you see, I ask for your vote and your endorsement.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to have a good friendly neighbor conversation. I hope Jimmy Paulding does the same. I've had him on before. It'd be great to have him in. Are we voting now? You can vote now, can't you?
You can vote now. Mail-in ballots are in now. You have to vote by June 2nd.
Do you do the mail-in, or are you old school like me?
No, I'm gonna walk in my ballot.
I walk all the time. I'm going into that place, whatever it is, and I got to do it that way. I just got to do it that way.
No, I like it that way.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man, for coming in. Thanks for being Up and Adam.
Thank you very much for having me on board. Thank you.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
All right. Really appreciate you coming in, Adam, having a real conversation. I think people are starving for that right now, and look forward to having Jimmy Paulding, who he's running against, in for a conversation as well. I've had great conversations with him before, and this is the way you do it in a community. This is the way. Verdinforsupervisor.com. That is his website. Like he said, all the links for Adam Verdin are in the show notes. All right. Well, it is the beginning of the week. I hope you're having a great week already. Gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful outside. I want to thank our friends Moonshiner Collective for original music on this show called Start Again. Check them out wherever you get your music. Stream them wherever. Of course, moonshinercollective.com. This show is recorded at SLO Cal Studios in San Luis Obispo County, California. San Luis Obispo, baby. We're in the city of SLO. SLO Cal is where the wine is world class, the people are real, and life is too beautiful to rush. Returns well taken. Visit slocal.com. That's SLOCAL, slocal.com. Till tomorrow, we are back, baby. I'm Adam Montiel. Thank you again for being Up and Adam.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again.